Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the 86 F's to Give podcast. I'm your host, Al, and I'm so grateful that you are here with me for episode 25, 26, somewhere around there. And yeah, I'm excited to just be back on the pod. I haven't been talking to the microphone for almost 2 weeks now, and I apologize for not getting an episode up last week. This month has just been kind of crazy, mentally, physically, all of the things. But we're here, we're giving ourselves grace, and I'm proud to be back and doing an episode this week, even if it is a day late. So a win is a win. We're getting an episode up, and I'm proud of the conversation I think we're about to have here, you and I, aka me to you. And I wanted to kind of recap some of the things I've done in February, because I think this episode might be a little shorter than usual. So let's throw in a little February recap, shall we? I started off the month with traveling, technically the end of January into February, to Reno, Nevada, and San Diego, California, to visit Carly and Maddie, which was wonderful. And then when I came home, obviously went back to work, and then the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and then we had a Super Bowl parade. So how crazy was that? That was like the coolest week ever, just to be in Philly. I'm like so happy and proud to be from Philly, aka outside of Philly, but to now live in Philly. And it was just so cool. I live near the art museum, so I could just like walk down, and it's just like, it's magical to like, from every corner, every street, people are just walking in their Eagles gear, and you know they're all going to the parade or they're all going to Broad Street, and it's just like the coolest feeling and energy and vibes. So I'm just so grateful to have that experience, because I wasn't able to the last time they won the Super Bowl, being in school in North Carolina, and I regret not coming up for the parade. So it was so cool to be able to be there this year and finally witness that. And I think I'm feeling like we might have a few in these next few years. So I'm just pumped to be in the city, and yeah, Philly's just a special place. So glad I got to be a part of that. And then I traveled again to DC with my mom to watch the WLL semifinals and finals, which was really, really awesome. It was the first series of the WLL. So to be there for that was really, really cool. I just absolutely love lacrosse, and watching all the women I watched in college now play professionally is just so cool. So it was very cool to do that, and to travel with my mom is always a blast. We love bonding over lacrosse, so I'm glad we got to do that together. And then we went to some cool museums. I posted some fun pictures on my Instagram of this Lego museum we went to. It was absolutely insane. Like, if you go to DC, I think it probably travels around the country, but if you ever have the opportunity to go see this man's Lego art, do it. It's like the most insane thing you'll ever see. Anywho, reflecting on my month and the positive things that happens is honestly part of this episode, because today we're episoding. Today we are 86ing the beginning of the year blues, or the February blues, the March blues, whatever you want to call them. I know I'm not alone in saying that January and February are some of the like tougher months for people. I am one of those people included every single year. And so yeah, it was nice to reflect on some things that I'm grateful for at the top of this episode. Helps bring in some positive energy to my otherwise little blue mood. But yeah, so to hop right into today's episode, I think the January, February blues are just like this common thing that we all kind of expect to happen, and I think it manifests differently in different people, but it's just kind of like this funk that falls over humankind as the year begins. And I sometimes try to reflect on like why, and we'll get into why I specifically feel them in a bit, but I think like for me, sometimes the like excitement of a new year, and I did a whole episode on like not having the pressures of a new year, because that really does affect me, and I think it affects a lot of people, even if you don't recognize it. Just like all the excitement, there's all these things, everybody's setting new goals, and then a lot of those goals just like fall off in the first couple weeks, right? We talked about that in the episode, and that's like really discouraging. And then to like start off your fresh year with like, I don't want to use the word failure, but like you're in your head, like you're failing at something that you wanted to do. Not saying you can't like try again and keep going the rest of the year, because it's only the middle of February, or almost the end of February, I guess. But like, it's just like you start off on this like roller coaster immediately as the year starts, of like being so high on this new year. I mean, at least for me, like I get so excited. New Year's is my Super Bowl. I get so excited. Well, now the Super Bowl is my Super Bowl because the Eagles are the champions, but you know what I mean? As far as holidays go, like I love New Year's so much. I just get so pumped. I have all my favorite people in one room, and it's like just such a fun time. And then everyone leaves, and then I mess up on my goals 2 weeks later, and it's just like, frick, like I can't even make it 2 weeks into the year. And it's just kind of like immediately you're starting off the year on such drastic emotions within like a couple weeks of each other. And I think that's hard. At least it is for me mentally, and a lot of times physically too. Like it's just draining. So I think that is maybe why some people feel these January, February blues. I think also like the weather, and just like, especially in Pennsylvania, like I'm sure like when I was in San Diego, I was not feeling the February blues. I mean, it was only February 1st and 2nd, but like, it's just like so pretty and like warm, not warm, super warm, but like warmer than it is here. And it's just like miserable to go outside. Like he gets up between 5 and 6 a.m. to go to the bathroom, and it's dark out and like ungodly cold, like so freaking cold. And it's just miserable to like do that every morning. Not that I wouldn't do it for this precious baby. Puda is laying on my lap if you are not watching this visually. But like, it's just miserable, right? Like it would be a completely different experience, like it is a completely different experience in the summer when it's already bright out at that, like the sun's rising at that time. I go outside, it's warm out, and you see other dogs and other people, and you're interacting. It's just a completely different experience, right? And I think it's natural to like be kind of miserable or just down when the weather and the sun is not synced with your daily routines and stuff. But it's hard to just like push through and like be happy all the time when like your environment doesn't really like contribute to that. So I think that's like another thing that kind of falls into why it kind of happens to a lot of us. And also January just feels so long. I feel like everyone was like, oh, it's January 41st. Like it just felt like such a long month. And there isn't really any holidays in January other than New Year's. So like you come off this holiday high of Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, all the things, and then New Year's. And then it's just like, okay, now we go back to just being a normal month. Like, so it just, yeah, all those things I feel like kind of contribute to the beginning of the year blues. But I know for me specifically, I just feel sad. Like I just feel down, and like normal tasks, my everyday routine just feels a little bit harder than it should feel, right? Like a little bit harder than it normally feels. And on top of things already being hard, like that's frustrating, right? Because now I'm like not eating dinner, and now I'm like hangry going to bed, or I'm not moving my body as much as I should. And so I'm not getting like that anxiety release. Like running really releases a lot of, or just exercise, walks in general, like release a lot of my anxiety. And when it's like so cold out and I'm so like just down and everything feels hard, like I'm not moving my body as much as I should, or in the ways that would be productive, especially during a time like this. So you just kind of like, for me at least, just go through this like cycle of like feeling down and knowing you should like eat, take a nap, go on a run, whatever. But that all of those things like feel so hard. So you just like doom scroll or watch TV, which like obviously is not the most healthy thing to do when you're already feeling down. So yeah, it's just like this cycle that feels really, really difficult to get out of sometimes. And also, like I just said, like it's frustrating because like the most important things to like the quality of your life, those like go out the door first, like eating, exercising, prioritizing my sleep, like all of those things. Like I like, this is like not funny, but I jokingly said to my coworkers, I was like, I haven't had like a real dinner in like the past 3 days. Like, and I wouldn't even consider it a girl dinner, like that TikTok trend. Like I literally ate an entire sleeve of Townhouse crackers for dinner on yesterday. Like That is not healthy and not okay. Like, okay, if you're gonna eat the whole sleeve, like eat a vegetable too, my friend. Like, that was literally like, I'm honestly embarrassed saying that, but like that is literally what I ate for dinner. Like, girl, maybe eat a bowl of cereal or something. Like, I don't know. There's just better ways to, like, even going out to eat would have been more like nutritious. Like, I could have gone to like Honey Grow or Kava or something. Like, even if I was spending money, like that would have been a better way to spend my time, or things like better way to fuel my body. And I just didn't do that because it felt so hard that I literally couldn't. And I have food to cook. I literally couldn't cook dinner. Like, so, also, middle of the episode disclaimer, this is not a cry for help. I have like the world's best support system ever. Like, and I'll talk about a little bit what I do to help myself through these times, but like the closest people in my life like know that this happens to me, or that I feel like this during these times. So like, I'm fine. It's just something that happens and we deal with it. And I feel like I've gotten a little bit better each February that comes around in my adult life, you know, like post college. I feel like the ones all before that were just like really tough because I wasn't mindful of it happening. But anywho, I'm okay. Should have said that at the top of the episode, but I wanted to just say that now, and I'll probably say it again at the end. But this is not a cry for help. This is just me talking about something that I think a lot of people go through and my experience through it. And hopefully some people can take some things away from it or relate at all. And if not, totally okay. I hope you actually don't relate. I would love if you don't have the January, February, March blues, right? Like, that's the goal. Anywho, back to what I was saying. I feel like it's really frustrating that the like most important tasks kind of go first, because like those are what's gonna fuel me, like energize me, and make me able to like do those other things that feel really hard. So like, you know, eating or getting enough sleep or exercising. Like, exercising always fuels me when I run in the morning or even at night. Like, it always brings me energy, and like that is something that I should be doing now because I know that I'm down a little bit more than usual. So like, you would think I'd be like, okay, let's do that so that I can help myself, but it also just feels so hard. So you're just stuck in this cycle, like I was saying. And yeah, it's just frustrating. That's really like the word I would use, is frustrating. Another way that it manifests for me is feeling like I can cry at literally any second. And I literally said to myself before recording, I'm like, I haven't cried on the podcast. We're not going to start today. Nothing is wrong. But I feel like literally any little thing could just like tick me off. Like last night I like read someone's text and I was like, oh, they're like mad at me, and like literally had a breakdown for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, no, they just were like sending a text. Like, who knows how they meant it, or were interpreting it. Like, I'm probably interpreting it completely wrong. Or even if I am, like, I don't know that to be true. So let me tell myself that like a different story. Maybe they were just busy and put a period after their text and made me stress for a second. But you know, like little things like that, or like anything could just like set me off and make me cry. And I did a whole episode on crying. You guys know I love crying, but like, it's not the most enjoyable thing to do every 5 seconds for 2 months straight. So that's another way it manifests in my life. And then also just like, I wanted to mention that some days are sadder or harder than others, and some days I'm like completely fine, and that's also frustrating because you like have 2 really good days like back to back, and you're like, okay, I feel like I'm finally, you know, kicking this funk or cracking the code, and then like the next day comes and you're just like back down, and like nothing happened. You just like, I don't know if it's, I actually have no idea. Like, it's just like the weirdest thing, and that's really frustrating too. And I think too, it's like from outside perspective, like my coworkers and my friends, like they're probably like, is this girl like insane? Because I go from being like happy bubbly me to then like the next day I'm like, nobody talk to me. Like, I actually like can't focus on anything, or you know, like if anyone says a word to me, I'm gonna lose focus. Like, so I think it might be frustrating for like outside factors too, which obviously is then frustrating for me because I don't want to be like causing anyone worries or anything. But like I said, the people that know me the best know that this is something that happens, and have been really good resources. And we'll talk more about that in a second. But as far as like some days being worse than others, I think that's normal with like any emotion when you're processing things. Like I said earlier, I think like my body, all of our bodies, like hold on to trauma, even if it's something that you like think you've worked through mentally. Like my childhood trauma that happened around this time of year, that I think also probably stems to why I feel like this time of year, is not something I think about literally ever. Like it's not something that I still get triggered. Mostly I don't get triggers for or think about or talk about literally ever, but my body still like holds on to it and feels it during this time of the year. And I think that's just really interesting as well. And maybe there's more to be done in therapy for that, or more work to be done, because I feel like I work through the like mental aspect of it, but obviously like my body is still wired in a way that just like holds on to trauma, and all of our bodies do that. And I think it's normal, and I try to remember to give myself grace through all of that, because things happened that were completely out of my control, and they affect you even as a little kid, and they stay with you until you're 26, and that is okay. And it's not anyone's fault other than the person that traumatized me. Sorry, I'm being so vague. I'm just absolutely not going to share on here, but it's just things that, like are so many things. Like even, this time of year, I would have been starting lacrosse at school, and that's really sad, because like I would do anything to play lacrosse again right now, and obviously that's not an option to me due to the NCAA eligibility rules, and also I'm not in school. So it's just hard, right? Like that's another thing that my body probably holds on to. And obviously I still work in college athletics, so I like see all the lacrosse games and the lacrosse girls going to practice, and I'm like, I wish that was me right now. Like, so there's just a lot of factors I think that kind of play into it. And I try to reflect and recognize what those factors are, but sometimes you just have no clue why you're feeling down. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit as well too. Like sometimes not knowing why I'm down is what makes me like even more frustrated and probably then cry, because I'm just like, I don't want to feel like this. Like, why do I feel like this? Especially as someone who is so in tune with their emotions, and like I typically know why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling and what to do to make it better. Like I'm just so reflective, and like have done a lot of work through journaling and therapy and talking to my mom and friends and people, that I'm, not to toot my own horn, but I'm like very in tune with my body, my emotions, and I just reflect a lot, and I know what's wrong, like for the most part. And it's frustrating sometimes when you don't know. And I think like all the things I just mentioned, like the trauma and the reminders of things that, have happened or would be happening this time of year, like that's probably it. And, nothing particularly happened right now in this February of 2025, but, reminding yourself that there's things that your body just kind of carries with you, and giving yourself a little bit of grace there is important. But I mean, any time of the year, sometimes I'll cry and I'm just like, I have no idea what's wrong. Like everything's just like setting me off right now. And I think that's normal. I think our bodies sometimes like take a minute to process things, and then it kind of comes up, or like it happens, something will happen again. You'll be like, oh, that is making me feel the same way I felt the other day. Like that checks out, that like that could be what was making me so upset. And I think it's normal to kind of take some time to reflect on things and realize why our bodies are feeling the way they are, or why our brains are feeling the way they are, because sometimes you just have no clue, right? Like, and I think that happens a lot during this time for me. And I'm like I said, like, I don't want to be sad. I don't want to feel down. I don't want it to feel so hard to cook dinner for myself or take my dog on a walk. Like those are all things that I want to do and want to be good at. And it's frustrating when like literally the last thing that I want to do is like cook or go outside, right? So yeah, I think it's normal that, sometimes you might not know why you're kind of feeling down, but to just give yourself grace and use the resources and the people that you have around you to kind of pick yourself back up in those times. And that kind of leads me into what I do to kind of, I wouldn't say prevent, because this happens every year and I try to not let it happen, but just to kind of work through it is one, like I mentioned, I tell people that I'm close to that this is happen, like this is what happens in February. Like my best friends know, some of my coworkers know, like obviously my family like has watched it happen for all the Februarys they've known me. Like, so it's just like really nice to have a support system that understands, and they're not going to like ask you what's wrong every 5 seconds or question why you're like not your bubbly, goofy self every day of the month of February and March. Like they just kind of get it and are there to, help you crack a smile or remind you to eat or, make sure you wake up on time. Like my mom is the best. If I tell her I need to be up early, like she will literally call me at 5 a.m. or whatever it is, or help, just a reminder. I live alone now, and like sometimes you get nervous that you're going to oversleep, and it's just nice to have people that are willing to be a support system and look out for you. And I just have the best parents and support system and friends literally ever. So it's nice to be able to rely on them in times like this. And then when I'm in my tip top shape in, the summer and the fall, I can be a resource for them. And then other things I do is just try to stick to as much of a routine as possible. So like every Tuesday I go to trivia with my friends, like still doing that, even if it feels miserable. Like I know walking there is going to be miserable in the cold and walking home is going to be miserable, but I know those 2 hours or 2.5 hours that I'm there is going to be like such a revival, and it's just going to pour into my cup, and I'm going to feel so good and laugh and have fun. And those 2 hours like make all the 10 minute of miserable cold walking like worth it. And it's time I get to bond with Puda. I get his energy out. Like it's just a win-win. And I like try to stick to that as much as possible in times like this or whatever it may be. Like, calling my mom every however many times a week I normally do, like just staying on top of things, like saying, pouring into my friendships as much as I can, or reminding my friends like, hey, this is a hard time for me. Like, I promise if I'm not calling, like nothing's wrong. I don't hate you, but like maybe I need you to call me a little bit more this month or whatever it is. Like just communicating where I'm at is like the biggest thing, I think. And also letting myself feel whatever feelings I'm feeling. Like I let myself cry. If I'm in a place where I can cry, shower, room, apartment, car, whatever, like if I'm in a safe place, like I'm just going to let myself cry, because when I hold it in, it makes it 10 times worse the next time I'm going to cry, or when something else happens, like I really blow up. So letting myself feel, letting myself cry, letting myself sleep if I want to, like on a day I can go into work a little later, like taking those extra hour or two in the morning and just sleeping, like going back to sleep after taking Puda out, like things like that, like prioritizing rest and feeling whatever I'm feeling and listening to my body is really important. But I will say sometimes it's kind of hard to balance between like knowing that this is going to happen, so I'm just letting myself feel, I'm giving myself grace, I know it's happening, it happens every year, well, yada yada yada, whatever, there's nothing I can do about it. And then also trying to like balance the like, okay, I know this is happening, like what can we do in January to prep for this? Like what can I do to like set myself up to like hopefully not feel so down this February or March? Like I don't know, it's a tough balance because like I don't really know why or how to prevent it. Like I said earlier, like I have planned a bunch of trips this month and really exciting things. Like obviously I was so excited when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Like again, it's not every single day for these 3 months of the year, but it's just like Q1 is just always a little tough, right? And so like you just want to try to like prepare as much as possible, but I feel like, I don't know, it's just a tough thing to balance, right? Like you want to prepare, but you also like know probably no matter what you're still gonna feel down a little bit, so it's just hard. So I think that's like kind of my next step in this, like as I go through these months of feeling down, like just reflecting on like what could I have done that would maybe have made this month a little bit easier, or whether it's meal prepping or being better with like setting alarms and turning my phone off at night, like whatever it is, like just kind of reflecting on that, because I feel like I haven't really done that in previous years. I'm just like, oh yes, it's finally April. Like I'm not thinking about that ever again. Like I literally don't reflect on it much once I'm out of it. So I think while I'm here, in it, just feeling, giving myself grace, but then also reflecting like, what can I do? Even starting, like, what can I do in March to like make March easier for me? Like, that's something I can be doing right now. So maybe I will do that as a journal prompt this evening or this weekend. But yeah, I think those are kind of all of my thoughts. I am here with you if you are also feeling the January, February blues, the beginning of the year blues, whatever you want to call them. You are not alone. We are not alone. Lean on your people. You can lean on me. I would happily talk about this more with people. It's frustrating, but something that we will all get through for sure. So yeah, thank you for tuning into another episode. Hopefully this explains why I've just been kind of out of it this month and why there was no episode last week. I was just like miserable. But again, reminder, all good. I am all good. Not a cry for help. I'm just speaking from experience. And hopefully some other people, well, not hopefully, but if you do relate to this, hopefully you took away something or just feel a little less alone. Okay, Puda is destroying his dog bed over there. I'm sorry if you can hear this. Also, sorry, my camera just stopped recording, but if you are on audio form, or I guess even on YouTube, I'll still keep this audio going. I love you all so much, and I'm proud of you if no one's told you recently, and you're kicking life's butt. So just remember to actively try to 86 those beginning of the year blues, but also give yourself grace because it's tough and we're all going through it. So yeah, I love you guys. Hopefully some warm weather's coming next week and we can finally get back outside, feel a little bit of the sun. But yeah, thanks for tuning in to another episode. I will talk to you guys next week. Okay, bye.